Top of the night to you, Scratchy. How you doing, sir?
Blessed night, neighbor. Blessed night to you, neighbor.
One of my listeners asked me earlier if I make up with you. I didn't know we broke up.
Make up? No, neighbor. They will never see that, neighbor. That's what they're trying, you know?
I didn't know we broke up. They said if I make up with you.
No, neighbor. We never. Me and you would never reach that level where we break off certain way, neighbor. Never, ever.
But I didn't know that we broke up.
Not time, neighbor. This band and this band cannot break, neighbor. Caroline, Harry, this band cannot break, you know? One Politics Plus.
Great, that's great, sir. So you're doing all right? I understand that you had a loss in your family.
No, neighbor, it wasn't a loss. You know, it was last year, neighbor. I mean, yesterday to today, neighbor, would have really make 1 year since the passing of my nana, my grandma, neighbor. And you know, I just saw it fit, neighbor, to kind of take some time out last night.
Yes.
Kind of reminisce, neighbor. My nana was my everything in the neighbor. Wash, cook, clean, everything, no matter my age, you know. So, I definitely do miss her, neighbor. And I was just reminiscing. Take a time out yesterday, neighbor, to just give the attention to my nana. That's what I did.
Okay. Great. I was shocked because I was saying to myself that I don't know about any breakup, or maybe it's a wish, eh?
Definitely, neighbor. It's a wish, and before I go any further, neighbor, I would just like to say, neighbor, before I go any further, I see someone in the chat, Camille, neighbor. Today's Camille's birthday, so everyone just wish Camille happy birthday. Camille is in the chat.
Happy birthday,
Yes.
Camille. How you doing?
Happy birthday, Camille.
Well, let's play the birthday song for her.
Yeah, play the birthday song for Camille, neighbor. I think she deserves it.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. Happy birthday to you, Camille. Let's celebrate our listeners. Celebration time for Camille. Hi, Camille. Hi. Happy birthday night. That's for Camille. Camille, happy birthday, my sister. And I wish for you the very best. And God's richest blessings follow you from today onwards. And that all your dreams will come through. And that you'll live to see many, many, many more on this your very special birthday. Happy birthday again, my dear sister. Have a fantastic night.
Yes, neighbor. Just 3 quick points before I begin. A second one, neighbor. I saw where Paul said that he would be donating, he would be helping 10 single mothers.
Okay.
And I would definitely, neighbor, like to recommend Kimmy be a part of that, neighbor. Kimmy, I think Kimmy deserves it. Not because she's less than anyone or anything like that. I don't know her situation financially, but because she's definitely a single mommy, neighbor. She introduced her son to the platform over there. I think he's a very wonderful young man, neighbor, with a very bright future. And I think that Kimmy should be added as one of those 10 single mothers, neighbor. Okay. Yes, I would recommend Kimmy as one. I definitely, if I can, I would recommend Kimmy be one of those 10 single mothers, neighbor, going forward.
Yes. Well, Caroline can coordinate that. Caroline, you can send Paul Caroline's contact, or you can make the link, and she will arrange that, eh?
Yeah, Caroline, get to Paul.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Could you please repeat?
The guy named Paul is a guy, Paul from Canada. He said that he's willing to help 10 single mothers, Caroline. So could you just get in contact with him?
Okay, Paul, could you please send me a WhatsApp to 954-635-8732?
All right. I think Scratchy has his contact. Scratchy will.
I don't have his contact name, but I just have his email.
Okay, all right. All right.
My next neighbor, my third point, neighbor, is I'm not gonna dwell on this long, but I just want to say, neighbor, that to our loyal supporters, neighbor, of this program. Yes. I just want to say a big thank you to you guys, neighbor, for all the strength that you guys showed to us, neighbor, despite whatever difficulty or whatever thing is going on with us at this moment in time. Yes. I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate it very much. A lot of person reach out to me. So a lot of person in chats and stuff reaching out and saying, Ray, thank you guys very much. No, I definitely appreciate it. And neighbor, I know that there are persons who might, to a certain extent, might be disappointed in whatever actions or whatever behavior, whatever style they might say I took on a particular life. I also want to apologize to those persons. I'm also a human, you know. I'm human, and Sometimes we do make mistakes, and sometimes we do get caught up in our temper, make temper get the better of us. And again, now, neighbor, there are persons who might felt that Scratchy should have went harder, Scratchy got too easy, these persons are this. But I just want to say that those persons, neighbor, that the whole of the time I get, neighbor, I realize now, neighbor, that it's not every fight, neighbor, is worth fighting. And I think, neighbor, that, yes, that is one of the things that I have learned, neighbor, with, and as the older I get, neighbor. I'm 37 years old, neighbor.
Okay.
And I will not, neighbor. I'm not going to, I pick my battles now wisely and more smartly, neighbor. And any battle that I'm going to go in, neighbor, once I am the person who have more to lose, I will not engage in any form of battle like that, or any form of tit for tat like that. Because I think in this situation, I have more to lose, neighbor. I am in a way, and this is not, I'm not better than anyone, neighbor. No one is better than me, neither. But I can safely say, neighbor, that I will not enter into any tit for tat or disrespect with anyone, neighbor, who I'm in a financial situation where my financial situation is way better after years. My living condition is way better after years. I am not against health. My health condition is way better after years. I will not stoop to those persons' level, neighbor, no time, and engage in any form of tit. So anyone who felt that Scratchy should go harder, this is my reason for reframing. I am more wiser. I have too much to lose right now, neighbor, compared to what others might have to lose. So I can't let persons win, neighbor. So definitely, I just want to say again, thanks to everyone who stand up for me. Thanks to everyone who stand up with the platform. And as Caroline said earlier, it's all for one and one for all. That's all I have to say. Good night, everyone. And anyone, again, if anyone feel disappointed in Scratchy, I'm definitely sorry about that.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Scratchy. Great. Scratchy, I want you to listen to Mr. Siaga as I set the context for what I want to talk to you about tonight. And Harry, listen to Mr. Siaga, listeners. This is Mr. Siaga in 2002.
The Jamaica Labour Party has watched with deep concern the events that have transpired over the past 10 years or more. And over this period, we have taken note of the fact that Jamaica has had virtually no economic growth. And we're the only country in the free world with that experience. Over this period, we have borrowed much more than is readily repayable. The national debt in 1988 was $33 billion. Today, it is some $600 billion, or nearly 20 times as much. Interest rates have crippled business expansion and job creation. The unemployment rate shows little or no improvement. Widespread business failures and financial failures have taken place. 40 financial institutions have collapsed. Virtually every sector of the economy is in decline or stagnating. Agriculture, every crop is in trouble. Manufacturing is in a continuous decline. Tourism is in crisis. Only the mining sector shows some slight ray of growth. The education system is still centered on educating a quarter of the students. Hence, 3 out of every 10 are illiterate when they graduate from primary school, 2 out of every 10 from secondary school, and 7 out of 10 have no passes at all. Crime has doubled, 10,000 killed. Corruption in office has been unprecedented.
Time up.
Scratchy? Scratchy, you.
What year was that interview, neighbor? What year was that, neighbor?
That's 2002, sir. The 2002 election. A situation described by Mr. Siaga. Can I play it again?
Sure, play it again.
Listen to it again. I tell you something. And you know, the point I want to make to Jamaica is that wholeness deserves accolades. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, if you are listening to me tonight, sir, you have rescued Jamaica from the pits. The truth, man. Let me tell you something. This country owes that man a debt of... You don't think so, Scratchy?
Definitely, neighbor. Most definitely, neighbor. Especially persons who have an understanding, neighbor, of what the 90s was like, neighbor, and can compare the 90s to now. They would definitely know that Jamaican own this, neighbor, would definitely owe this man a debt of gratitude. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's listen again to Siaga.
Good evening, everyone. The Jamaica Labour Party has watched with deep concern the events that have transpired over the past 10 years or more. And over this period, we have taken note of the fact that Jamaica has had virtually no economic growth. And we're the only...
So the first thing he said there is that there was no I don't want to disrupt him. Go ahead, Eddie.
country in the free world with that experience. Over this period, we have borrowed much more than is readily repayable. The national debt in 1988 was $33 billion. Today, it is some $600 billion, or nearly 20 times as much. Interest rates have crippled business expansion and job creation. The unemployment rate shows little or no improvement. Widespread business failures and financial failures have taken place. 40 financial institutions have collapsed. Virtually every sector of the economy is in decline or stagnating. Agriculture, every crop is in trouble. Manufacturing is in a continuous decline. Tourism is in crisis. Only the mining sector shows some slight ray of growth. The education system is still centered on educating a quarter of the students. Hence, 3 out of every 10 are illiterate when they graduate from primary school, 2 out of every 10 from secondary school, and 7 out of 10 have no passes at all. Crime has doubled, 10,000 killed. Corruption in office has been unprecedented.
Time up.
What a condition Mr. Siaga described there, Scratchy. 7 out of every 10. 7 out of every 10 student was leaving school without a single pass, Scratchy.
I'm telling you, neighbor, if you know about the 90s, neighbor, anyone would go to high school in the 90s.
We were
PNP, neighbor. PNP. PNP.
You want to tell me this was our country, Scratchy? This is the country that you were living in at that time as young people.
90s. 7 out of 10 students leaving school without a subject. Neighbor. PNP. PNP.
Jesus Christ, my God, oh God, this is...
But yes, you say it is manifesting now, right? The outer 10 are manifesting now with the misinformation. Manifestation is coming to life, Scratchy. My dear.
Exactly.
You know, hold on a little bit, Scratchy. You know, I laughed, Scratchy, I laughed, but I'm going to pull up Mr. Golden's take on this, because Scratchy, it's almost as if Mr. Golden took from Mr. Siaga what Mr. Siaga said there, because Golden didn't say anything different in 2007. Remember, the PNP won this election,
Yes, they won that election, neighbor.
Yes. The PNP won that election.
Labour Party made up a lot of grounds in that election, neighbor. Labour Party came out of that election with about 26 seats, I believe.
They did. Scratchy, tell me something. In a situation like that, with the debt, Mr. Siaga said, when they took office, was 33 billion. and they increase the debt 20 times that. Where the hell them do with the money?
Finsack and the current leader of the People's National Party and his surrogate is second in command. That is where the money went, neighbor. Sweetheart deals, nepotism, cronyism. That's all the PNP do, neighbor. Waste Jamaica money. I tell you about the glorious days of the 90s when the rest of the world, every other country, neighbor, that you see right now found wealth or is of certain amount of wealth, neighbor, they found that wealth or the prime of that wealth, neighbor, came within the 90s. And Jamaica failed to capitalize, neighbor. And the fact that there wasn't any major global shock around the world in the 90s in terms of hurricanes or storms or financial problems. There wasn't anything like that externally or global shock. It was a man-made one, neighbor, that damaged Jamaica, that was created by our own government at the time.
Oh boy. Kimmy, how are things, man?
But it's adding up now, you know, because we're seeing that the one in every 10 is now being manifested on social media with the misinformation, the lies, the propaganda, everything they say that they turn and twist it the other way. It's showing now, Mr. Neighbor. It's showing why is it that when Mr. Siaga had said that, we the people, well, them the people, did not look to see that these people are going to come back in our life, Mr. Neighbor, to taunt us. Huh? And we're sitting here and we're thinking, because I kind of think I talk similar. Thank God for Andrew. Thank God for the plans that he had put in place. Thank God for the 9 years, in our 9 years, Mr. Neighbor. Because if it wasn't for this man, he would still be in the hole. And I dare to say, I believe FinSat 2.0 would have been happening if they had won the election, Mr. Neighbor. If they had won this election, because right before our eyes, it is still happening. Right before our very eyes, we're asking questions and we can't get answers. Yet still this party says that they love us. Huh? When, where? It's happening. They're tearing down. Even now, on the backs of the Jamaican people, they're tearing us down. And they're using the word Melissa as ploy. Poor Melissa, everything Melissa get blamed for.
Yeah. You know, Scratchy, I want you to listen again to Mr. Siaga making an amazing admission about how the PNP operates. Listen to him.
Credit to the People's National Party for their political acumen and their political capabilities. I don't claim to be as versed as they are in how to practice the art of politics. I don't know why you want me to speak of the PNP without taking note of the strength of the JLP, which is quite the opposite of that of the PNP. But I do believe, however, that while it may be a strength to the party, it is a weakness to the state. Because you can't...
Scratchy, the Mr. Siaga is pointing out that the PNP is very good at politics, but they are weak at government. Is that a good observation?
Definitely, neighbor. Anyone who has been tracking and following the politics, neighbor, definitely know that, neighbor, the People's National Party, neighbor, is very, very good at politics, neighbor, but has always been poor in terms of government. Because
the PNP, that is their strength. The strength of the PNP is that they are very good at politics. As a matter of fact, I think he's actually admitting that they're outsmarting him. Listen to him.
You cannot use politics as a means of decision-making to evaluate your programs and your projects in terms of political benefit only. When you do that, something else is going to suffer. And generally, the economy suffers. That is what happened to us in the 70s. Politics was how we decided what should be done and what should not be done. And you know what happened then. The fact of the matter is that we must evaluate the decisions that have to go into making policies on the basis of what is affordable and what is good for the nation, not what is good for the party. And therefore, I don't want to be as good as the People's National Party is, and my team doesn't want to be either in terms of politics, just so long, of course, as we...
He doesn't want to be as good as the PNP in terms of politics. Scratchy, what an amazing honesty from a man.
Neighbor, again, Mr. Siaga, neighbor, my favorite politician, neighbor, someone who I love very much, neighbor, I respect very much, someone who I've spoken with, I've had conversation with this man more than once. So neighbor, definitely neighbor, so a very wise man neighbor, he knows. Neighbor, when I listen to the media neighbor, and I hear all the media make Mr. Siaga look like a bad person neighbor, I am shocked neighbor. Because the things that comes out of this man mouth neighbor is nothing compared to what they're trying to make him look like. When you hear neighbor now, someone like this neighbor who's going for the highest office to be a prime minister telling you that he don't want to be as good in politics as the PNP, because he's basically telling you that no matter the games and the trick that the PNP use to maintain them political momentum, is not willing to put the economy and the wider Jamaica at risk just for political gains. And neighbor, we see where the PNP has also done that over the years. We see now right now, the current leader neighbor goes into the parliament and is talking about his 400,000 votes. So that goes to show you neighbor that this is how the PNP operates overall neighbor. My grandfather neighbor told me that when Michael Manley was the Prime Minister of Jamaica neighbor, he told me that whatever decision was to be made neighbor, it wasn't being made by the cabinet of Jamaica neighbor, that was being made by the executive or the NEC of the PNP. Those were the guys who were making the decision for Jamaica.
Not the
decisions
cabinet.
were being made for me.
Not
Yeah,
the
but
cabinet.
it wasn't the cabinet of Jamaica. My granddaddy told me that when Michael Manley was the Prime Minister, the decisions that were being made, that were supposed to be made for the benefit of the country and the economy, were not being made by the cabinet. It was being made by the People's National Party executive.
Wow.
This is how they operate, man. Mr. Siaga, come and say it right now. Mr. Siaga know that to a fact as well.
Yes, that's what Tiago was saying, that that it was politics that was predominant, the strength of the PNP. And here is Siaga making an admission like that at a national debate, Scratchy, to say, hey, they are better than us in the politics.
Definitely, but even till today, 2025, we have an election neighbor about a couple months ago neighbor. We were even saying that the politicking that they come with neighbor, that is what they always try to use. That's why you're telling neighbor that the further Jamaica advance neighbor is the more diluted the PNP and the more unrecognizable the PNP will become. Because the PNP thrive on chaos neighbor, they thrive on poverty neighbor, they thrive on high employment neighbor, and they thrive on low growth and a disastrous economy where they don't want everybody to can go out and get their own. They rather they come and give you something in an envelope. That is what the PNP strive on neighbor. So with the advancement of Jamaica and the advancement of the people, the increase in the literacy rate, the increase in the infrastructure of the country, the increase in the economy neighbor, we are going to see the PNP become diluted, and we are seeing it neighbor. We have never, who would imagine neighbor that in 2025 you would see this opposition party having a third term, the PNP? Who wouldn't believe that right now? And that is a result neighbor, of the advancement of Jamaica and the advancement of the world, the technological advance that we have now. They can't hide information from us again through JBC or TVJ, whatever their name was at the time. They cannot use, come and tell us what is that, and we have the ability to go and search and research. Tambrin Tom Library neighbor is not our main source of information no more. Tambrin Tom Library is not our main source of information no more neighbor. Yes, we have smartphones now, we have gadgets and devices now where we can go and get our information.
Yes. Scratchy, is it the politics that the PNP practiced why they were so successful at elections and not so much their economic or management of the country? Was it the politics they used to outfox the Labour Party?
Definitely neighbor. They use the politics to outfox the Labour Party neighbor. Like they prey on the needs of these people neighbor. They use the lawlessness neighbor. They push a certain level of lawlessness towards these people. They push the hustling mentality towards these people neighbor. So whenever they gain power, they gain state power neighbor, they have to make sure that they continue to maintain this with these people. So they cannot come as real leaders neighbor and make right decisions neighbor that will benefit the country and the economy at a larger extent. They tend to go for decisions neighbor that benefit their small demographic group that voted for them neighbor. They hope not this sort of government for hustling and to all type of illegal activities neighbor. Remember when the Jamaica Labour Party took office in 2007 neighbor, when Bruce Colin won, when our ministers were going into ministries neighbor, there were computers that were missing, there were documents that were shredded neighbor. The JUTC are dead persons who were being paid every fortnight same way, and persons who never go to JCTC go drive a bus one day. So we know neighbor that the People's National Party neighbor, they prey on the agencies neighbor and the arms of government, and use the arms and the agencies of government neighbor to bring scarce benefit to their people. That's how the People's National Party survive. And that is what they were trying come 2025, September the 3rd, 2025, neighbor. And Jamaicans rejected them, tell them that we're past that type of politics. We don't want a handout anymore. I want to go out there and be able to achieve for myself. Because a handout, neighbor, cannot build a bathroom on my outside, my little one room that I have in my tenement yard. Handout cannot give me a bathroom, neighbor. Handout cannot give me a kitchen. All handout is going to do, neighbor, is continuously give me some little small stuff that cannot advance my life, my living condition, or anything like that. So I think that is why, neighbor, the People's National Party, they are diluted, neighbor. They are no longer recognizable.
Yeah, you know, Aristotle Scratchy, he's a Greek philosopher, and he believed, Scratchy, that politics should serve the common good, with a focus on distributive justice. He argued that a just society is one where citizens have access to resources and opportunities, and the access to resources and opportunities is what allows the people to flourish. Scratchy, the period of the 90s, there was a lack of access to opportunities, a lack of access to resources. And as a result of that, the people did not flourish. Scratchy. I came upon a research that I've been looking at about systemic enslavement. And systemic enslavement has to do with the economic disempowerment. In other words, no opportunities are available to the people, and in that regard, they are enslaved. Would you agree with me, Scratchy, that we reintroduced slavery in Jamaica during the period of the 90s?
Yes, neighbor, and I would definitely agree with you, neighbor, because when you look at slavery, neighbor, how slavery was carried out, neighbor, and you look at the characteristics of slavery, neighbor, you look at all the things that make up slavery, neighbor, lies, manipulation, neighbor. You find that the PNP, neighbor, this is what the PNP strive on: misinformation, disinformation, manipulation, lies. So you find that definitely, neighbor, without the actual chains on our feet, neighbor, and our hands, the People's National Party, neighbor, use, neighbor, the arms and agencies of government, neighbor, have them run down in deplorable condition, neighbor, so that persons for persons to go to the hospital, neighbor, you couldn't get the proper treatment, you couldn't get the proper health care and stuff like that, things that they didn't deserve, because the People's National Party, neighbor, wanted persons, neighbor, to continue to live within a certain belief, live within a certain condition, so that they can manipulate them, so that they can control them through the misinformation. When I was going to school, neighbor, as a young boy, neighbor, I was walking past Kingston Public Hospital, neighbor, I had to cover my nose. Neighbor, when I was walking as a young youth, coming in the 90s, neighbor, coming from primary school and walking past Kingston Public Hospital, I had to cover my nose. So you find that, neighbor, when I look at what is going on now in Jamaica compared to the 90s.
No, you had a cold.
No, neighbor, definitely not. It was definitely not a cold, neighbor. There was a stench, neighbor, that used to come from the Kingston Public Hospital. Anyone who live in and around that area, neighbor, who visit that hospital, neighbor, could tell you, neighbor, that in the 90s, neighbor, there was a stench, neighbor, that come from that hospital. You could know that, yes, you're approaching Kingston Public Hospital. Mad Funeral Zone behind it, neighbor, was also a stench coming from there as well. So you find that, neighbor, all of the agencies, the key agencies and arms of government that were set up, neighbor, for persons to benefit from, as you just read from the article a while ago, about the agents where citizens benefit from, neighbor. Those things were in a deplorable condition, neighbor. Our police stations, neighbor. Police didn't have that. Police didn't have the will, neighbor, nor the tools to carry out their functions. So you find that is how persons turn now, neighbor, to the strong men in the community, neighbor, for justice. Because when you call the police and take long for coming, tell us that there's no vehicle at the station, or the station is in such a deplorable condition, or the station is so far away. So you find that, neighbor, the PNP, neighbor, they broke down all of the things, neighbor, that are supposed to maintain any form of upliftment towards citizens or human beings' life, neighbor. And they leave the citizens in the 90s, neighbor, to squalor and live in lawlessness and maintain and breed and the hustling mentality. We see where Jamaicans don't want to work, neighbor, they can't hustle. And hustling is not hustling, it's thieving. It's stealing, you're stealing people things. So, neighbor, the People's National Party is definitely one of the persons, neighbor, or a group or the organization that is responsible for a lot of the flaws that Jamaica is going through right now.
Coming back to you, Scratchy. Go ahead, Kimmy. Go ahead.
Scratchy gone too far, because in the early 2000s, the hospitals, Mr. Neighbor, was the absolute worst. And I can say that because the hospital grew me, Mr. Neighbor. I was always sick growing up, right?
Oh, sorry about
And I can tell you that even my medication, just the medication to ease my pain, was lacking. I remember I was at the Kingston Public Hospital in the early 2000s, and the bed that I was on, Mr. Neighbor, was rocky-tacky. And they put a lady beside me, and they were so understaffed at the Kingston Public, and she had a bag. And I remember my bathing rack fell in that U-ring, and it stayed there for a good while because nobody was there to clean it. The People's National Party, you are right. They are good at politics, bad at governance, bad at taking care of the people of Jamaica. They literally, Mr. Neighbor, kept us in a cage with just what was there on the radio station and on the TV. And we cannot sit idly. And that's why, Mr. Neighbor, I visit platforms like yours and I talk on mine. And that's why the persons over here come over mine as well. Because we talk the truth of what was happening back then to now. It has never been, and I asked the question, and I'm going to continue to ask this question, Scratchy. If things were so good in the 80s and the 90s, why did they run from Kingston, Jamaica to go for better life? That's the only question I would love an answer for, since they were working on gold, Mr. Neighbor. That's what they said. Money in a pocket. So why did they leave? Why so many of them in the diaspora?
Yeah.
I don't get it, sir.
Fantastic.
Slavery days we lived under in that party. Slavery days. High bills. Tax, and more taxes. Every time the budget read, we cringe, Mr. Neighbor.
Yes. My goodness. Yeah, hold on. Kimmy, you can chime back in. Scratchy, Karl Marx, you see, argued that true freedom requires economic liberation. And he says that if you are stuck in poverty, struggling to survive, you don't really have any choice. And he says that the shackles represent systemic barriers, which is a lack of access to resources and unequal opportunities that limit the potential of individuals. Do you think, Scratchy, that there is a generation of Jamaicans that their potential was limited by the devastating impact of the economic meltdown of the 90s? Do you think we are struggling today? Some of our people are struggling
Definitely,
for that.
Neighbor. I believe that, Neighbor, our population, Neighbor, who was a part of that 18 and a half years of the PNP. I was a child at that time. I spent the whole 90s in basics and primary school. So I believe that persons who were of an older age, persons who were parents, Neighbor, persons who were just about to leave high school and stuff like that, Neighbor, I think to a certain extent, yes, Neighbor, those persons definitely suffered, Neighbor. Those persons suffered from failure of their government. I think their state failed them, Neighbor, in advancing their knowledge, Neighbor, in advancing them personal development. I don't think the state aided any time at that. When I go back and I look at the 90s, Neighbor, and compare to now, there wasn't much help, Neighbor, for persons, despite whatever condition they were living in, whether they were considered as the most vulnerable or not. I didn't see much in place for them looking at things now, comparing back then. So I would definitely have to agree, Neighbor, to Carl, Neighbor, that economic, Neighbor, to push your economy, Neighbor, your persons, your citizens must have some amount of freedom, some amount of space, Neighbor, because the economy cannot go through government alone, Neighbor. It has to do with the citizens. Now, all your economy will grow, Neighbor, by providing a good education system, by providing a good healthcare system. These are the things, Neighbor, that are the beginning that brings you to that winning spot. So I think in the 90s, Neighbor, definitely, Neighbor, the government of that time, Neighbor, failed majority of our citizens. And I think that it is as a result of the 90s why we are getting some of the misinformation, some of the disinformation, and some of the high level, Neighbor, of illiteracy. that we're seeing right now. I can bet, neighbor, if you check those persons' age, they were just about to leave high school in the 90s, or they were already adults in the 90s. I can definitely attest and tell you that, neighbor. The 90s.
Our caller Paul, who came on this program, is why I've done this research. Because Paul said something here that had struck me. Paul said that his life could have advanced, I hope I'm not misquoting him, further had it not been for the bad policies of the... No, I think he was saying that the PNP affected his life. Are you on the box there, Paul? I wonder if you are listening. You could clarify if I'm misquoting you. Because Scratchy, there's no freedom if you don't have a job, Scratchy. How could you have a society with 3 million people, less than 3 million, and 500,000 are unemployed, Scratchy? That's a recipe for disaster.
Definitely, neighbor. It was definitely a recipe for disaster, neighbor. We saw that disaster manifested in front of our eyes, neighbor, in the 90s, neighbor. We saw the high unemployment rate, neighbor. We saw the high crime rates, neighbor. Crime was morphed and magnified in the 90s, neighbor. Poverty was magnified again in the 90s, neighbor. So we saw that all of those things, neighbor, was as a result, neighbor, of our citizens, government not being able, neighbor, to provide job, government not being able to provide an economy, neighbor, where the business class and the citizens can come join and create jobs and create opportunity for each other. So we find that, neighbor, the state definitely failed a large amount of us, neighbor, during that time. Our education system, neighbor, was shambles. I remember going to school in the 90s. I was going to a primary school. When I leave that primary school to go to a different primary school, neighbor, I believe up to close to about a month, neighbor, I didn't have a chair to sit on. I had to stand up at the back of the class or reach up on someone's seat. I don't see stuff like that going on right now, neighbor. And it wasn't just my class alone. All across the classroom and other class, neighbor, a lot of students didn't have desks and chairs. So as a student, neighbor, you cannot learn to the right way in that type of condition, neighbor. We must make sure that we make the learning areas fit, neighbor, for learning. So a student going to a school in the 90s, neighbor, having to stand up, neighbor, to write your notes, definitely not conducive to learning, neighbor. Overcrowded classrooms, poor furniture, a lot of things. Teachers don't come to school as regular because of whatever different reasons. So definitely, neighbor, every single way you look at it, neighbor, the People's National Party, neighbor, costs Jamaica a large percentage. I would like to tout and say that FinSac costs us 40%, neighbor. We need to look deeper past FinSac and see how many percent did it cost us, neighbor, with these persons who we pushed out, who basically weren't ready because the government at the time didn't put anything in place, neighbor. We didn't have a art program, neighbor, where you can go. Yes, there was art, but the program wasn't as advanced, the program wasn't robust as it is now, where persons could just leave, neighbor, and go right and get into art, neighbor. We didn't have a lot of these extra CXC classes where persons who failed CXCs, their parents could afford to send us to go back to our evening class over there. So we didn't see all of that in the 90s. So a lot of these social programs, social intervention programs, a lot of these things, neighbor, we didn't see these things in the 90s. And these are things, neighbor, that kind of cushion your most vulnerable, because the government, neighbor, must stand up for its most vulnerable. And I think the People's National Party did not only fail its most vulnerable, neighbor, but it failed also a lot of persons who weren't vulnerable, neighbor, but they had great prospect to prosper and strive in life, neighbor. They just needed more advancement, more push to industries and organizations from a governmental base. And I think the government dropped the ball and failed them on that part.
Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, Politics Plus is on with your neighbor. What is politics if not to help the people? Is Jamaican being helped? We talk about illiteracy. I have a question for Scratchy when I come back, but just give me a second. Huh? I'm coming right back. If you're just joining us, we're looking at what is politics? What is politics to do? How is politics to help the people? And if we are to appreciate where we are today, we need to look at where we're coming from. Yep, the past, the history, very important. We're using as our context tonight a Mr. Siaga's opening statement in the debate of 2022. Let's listen again to Mr. Siaga and get back to Scratchy. And Kimmy is here with us tonight also. Great.
You, Mr. Siaga.
Good evening, everyone. The Jamaica Labour Party has watched with deep concern the events that have transpired over the past 10 years or more. And over this period, we have taken note of the fact that Jamaica has had virtually no economic growth. And we're the only country in the free world with that experience. Over this period, we have borrowed much more than is readily repayable. The national debt in 1988 was $33 billion. Today, it is some $600 billion, or nearly 20 times as much. Interest rates have crippled business expansion and job creation. The unemployment rate shows little or no improvement. Widespread business failures and financial failures have taken place. 40 financial institutions have collapsed. Virtually every sector of the economy is in decline or stagnating. Agriculture, every crop is in trouble. Manufacturing is in a continuous decline. Tourism is in crisis. Only the mining sector shows some slight ray of growth. The education system is still centered on educating a quarter of the students. Hence, 3 out of every 10 are illiterate when they graduate from primary school, 2 out of every 10 from secondary school, and 7 out of 10 have no passes at all. Crime has doubled, 10,000 killed. Corruption in office has been unprecedented.
Time up.
Mike Scratchy is not a laughing matter. Can I tell you something, Kimmy? Can I tell you something? We should play these for the radio. Let people understand where we are coming from. It was very bad. It was very, very bad. You know, Kimmy, is it not true that the Jamaican people are dark to their past? They don't understand where we're coming from.
It is true, Mr. Neighbor, because even today, a man came on my platform and he said that we're not telling the truth. And Mr. Neighbor, I really, really have to say, maybe God is working, because we talk about Eddie Siaga today on our platform. We talk about this man and the work that he did for Kingston, Jamaica. And I asked the man that was on there, I said, why is it every time the People's National Party is going to talk about the leader, they only talk about one person, and that's Manley? What happened to Miss Miller? What happened to Mr. Patterson? Weren't they good leaders? Weren't they good prime ministers? Why are we stuck on this one person that is back in the past that I, Kimmy, don't know nothing about? I don't know how he was, what he did, and all of these things. I can only read on that. But I can probably remember a part of Mrs. Cynthia Miller's journey as Prime Minister of the country. What did she do? And he said that she started the infamous Jeep.
Yes.
And I believe everybody started to laugh, Mr. Neighbor. I think he said Jeep.
Yeah, I think that Jeep may have won them the election.
No, not Jeep. No, not Jeep. Operation Pride is what PJE said started. Mr. Neighbor, Pride. Now, Mr. Neighbor starts saying to him, what happened? How many land titles was given out in Operation Pride? And of course, I had to go and Google and research and let him know the failure of Operation Pride on the backs of the Jamaican people. And I said to him, in your party alone, your organization that you have and that you're supporting, there are so many scandals. And the one that I hate most out of all of them, because Mr. Neighbor, again, I cannot talk on FinSac. I wasn't there. But the one that I remember is the Cuban light bulb saga. Mr. Neighbor, the Jamaican people, the citizens of this country, had to pay back $270 million US dollars in taxes because Mr. Kern Spencer could not account for what he did with these light bulbs that was supposed to be given to the poor people of Jamaica.
Is that so?
We end up paying taxes, Mr. Neighbor, for something that was free in the first place.
Fascinating stuff. The fact though, Scratch, let me ask you this, Scratch. If we hypothesize using the period of the 90s to lay the foundation for our argument, isn't it true, Scratchy, that Golden and Wholeness jointly liberated Jamaica? Before you answer that, Scratchy, here is Mr. Golden now in 2007. You heard Mr. Siaga? In 2002, PNP won the election.
Definitely.
10 years. They were
Yes.
no to what? And here Golden now. Hold on. No, I missed that. Okay, here is it. Okay, let's cue that up a little. All right.
By a coin toss earlier, and now the opening statement from Mr. Golden.
Thank you very much. The People's National Party has been in power for the last 18 and a half years. During that period, with the exception of the first 2 years, Jamaica has never achieved as much as 3% growth in any 1 year. Over that period, we have accumulated 460,000 persons who either can't find work or have given up trying to find work.
By the way, Scratchy, based on what Mr. Siaga said earlier, these are unemployable. These 460,000 because they came out of school illiterate, Scratchy. I'm sorry to be laughing, but if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. Based on what Mr. Golden is saying there now, these people who can't find work, probably is because there was not only that there was no work, Scratchy, they were not trained, they couldn't do anything, they were illiterate.
Yes, neighbor. Once you're rendered unemployable, neighbor, there's unemployment and unemployable. So if you're rendered unemployable, neighbor, it means that you don't have the basic skills, neighbor, to go into the workforce. The basic skills. And that basic skill, neighbor, is to just sign your name. It means that you don't possess that basic skill to sign your name to enter the workforce.
Yes. But can you imagine a society, Scratchy, where 460,000 people can't find work?
I'm definitely, neighbor. I cannot only imagine, neighbor. I lived in it during that period of time, neighbor. I lived this. Yeah, it was a part of my reality. I was one of those persons trying to find work at that time, but I lived the reality. I had family members, neighbor. I saw cousins, aunties, uncles, neighbor, who sat home for the whole time. I was wondering why these people just sat home every day like that. Well, I realized that.
But isn't this enslavement, Scratchy? Isn't this a failure of the state to carry out its basic fundamental responsibility to the people of Jamaica, Scratchy? Isn't this a failure of the state, man?
Definitely, neighbor. I think in football, neighbor, or soccer term, neighbor, they will call this an own goal, neighbor. And I definitely think that, neighbor, any political organization, neighbor, who have 460,000 persons who are rendered unemployable, neighbor, it's a total disaster, neighbor. Not even an election should be called. That political organization should be given a red card and just be asked to remove from office. And I definitely agree with Mr. Golden, the People's National Failure. And if you look at the rhetoric, neighbor, if you listen back to Mr. Siaga's speech, neighbor, and you listen to Mr. Golden's speech, neighbor, they are on par. They are on par, neighbor.
What I'm making is that it's almost like Golden took Siaga's speech.
Exactly.
8 years after that, Scotty, no change.
8 years after that, neighbor, 2002 debate, neighbor, Mr. Siaga came and made those pronouncements and complained about those stuff. And 8 years after, neighbor, Mr. Golden came and it was the same issues, the same problem. And that is why Jamaicans booted the People's National Party from office 2007.
Boy, I tell you, Golden, go ahead, listen, Golden again. Paul is
in any 1 year. Over that period, we have accumulated 460,000 persons who either can't find work or have given up trying to find work. During that period, we have accumulated a debt that is now costing the people of Jamaica $550 million every single day.
Then Scratchy, if we can't find work and we can't, how come we were going in debt? What was the money doing?
And when I research and look, neighbor, a day, in 2007. Yes, neighbor, and I want to make a point. that Mr. Golden didn't make. That 550 million, neighbor, it was just paying down on the interest part of the debt, in a neighbor. Just the interest part, not the principal. That 550 was just paying the interest part of the debt. Because the interest part blossomed neighbor over the 90s.
I just back you up. PNP. I just back you up there real quick. I'll just back you up there real quick.
Before you, Paul?
The Prime Minister declares that she's not changing course. Even if the majority of people say that we're going in the wrong direction, she says, not changing no course. And if we're not changing course, it means that a few will continue to plunder poor people's money because we will have to continue to live with the rampant corruption that has characterized this government, of which the Prime Minister has been a part from beginning till now. Not changing no course.
You are suspended, Paul. Detention from class.
Hold on, everybody. Let's rock some Gregory here and have fun.